Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Watson, and I want to welcome you into the Man Cave. So, in the Man Cave, we'll be talking about sports at all times. We'll be talking about football, basketball, and any other sports topics that you may want to chop it up about. Just email me at themancavechris@gmail.com with any sports topics that you want to discuss, and who knows, we may invite you into the Man Cave to chop it up with me. So, welcome to the Man Cave, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for another episode here in the Man Cave with Chris. I'm your host, Chris Watson. And again, I am not by myself. I got my brother and my brothers from other mothers. I got my boy Mike Blatnick in Atlanta, representing the Detroit Lions. Say hello to the people, Mike.
What's happening, everybody? How you doing out there in the Motor City and all across the country?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And then we got our resident Cowboy fan, Eric Johnson, on the line.
All right, how's everybody doing? How about them Cowboys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then finally, representing the Las Vegas Raiders in the AFC West, my brother Chuck. Say hey to the people.
Raider Nation, stand up.
All right.
How about them Raiders?
There we go. All right, guys. So what we're going to do today, we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about the AFC first. We're going to get into the AFC. We discussed the NFC last week, did a nice little breakdown for everybody. So we're going to do the same thing today with the AFC. So we're going to start with our first AFC breakdown. We're going to go with the AFC North, which is going to be Mike. Is going to do a breakdown for the North for us. Go ahead and get us started.
All right, everybody. Well, hope everybody's doing well out there. We're going to get started in the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens this year, they, of course, drafted J.K. Dobbins, who could be their long-term running back of the future for the organization. Try to take some load off of Lamar Jackson with all the runs that he's been making out there so that he doesn't end up like Michael Vick and injured it in a long-term season. They also went out and got Calais Campbell and Derek Wolfe to show up their defensive side of the ball, which their defense had been lacking a little bit. Which you saw last year, I think, in the title game, which is why Lamar Jackson didn't get out of the first round, because I think their defense really had a tough task of everything that happened in that game. This will be the last year, though, at Lamar Jackson's bargain price basement that they're paying him right now. So it'll be interesting if he has another MVP breakout season like he did last year. They could be paying him the big bucks. I don't know if he'll get Patrick Mahomes money, but he'll definitely be getting some big bucks out there when it comes across the board. I look for the Baltimore Ravens to be strong again. I think that they will probably finish the season 11-5. I do see them winning the division again, just based off of the competition within that division. Then you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They finally get Big Ben back this season, but whether or not he survives a whole year, that's the whole question that I think everybody wonders, is whether or not he can actually survive an entire season. They did pick up Eric Ebron at the tight end spot to try and help them out and relieve some pressure for him. And then they also got Chris Wormsley on the defensive line from the Ravens, which I think will be a big help for them on the defensive line. Their defensive secondary has already been strong as it is. And I think with Fitzpatrick coming back, it should be interesting to see how they do. I think there's also some turmoil in Pittsburgh because James Conner's coming into the season. He doesn't have a long-term contract. They still haven't gone ahead and given a couple other players a long-term contract. And then they franchise tagged Dupree out there, which they hope was going to pay off in the long run, but who knows? And then they still don't really have much help at wide receiver to help out Juju Smith to take off the double team coverages that he's getting out there. So I do think Pittsburgh will be formidable if Big Ben survives the season. I do see them finishing up at 9-7, but that's pretty much, they could do better. It depends on whether or not Big Ben stays healthy and whether or not they get some additional help. So then you look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They, of course, drafted Joe Burrow at LSU. It'll be interesting to see how quickly. Sure, he'll be playing from the very start of the season, but whether or not he gets a lot of help. A.J. Green's obviously been out for them for a while now, so he comes back this year. It'll be interesting to see how he does, but he's got some help out there because they also drafted T. Higgins out of Clemson. So if A.J. Green's healthy and T. Higgins, it could give him a hell of a 1-2 punch out there on the offensive side of the ball. After their defense ranked 30th in the NFL last year, it's going to be interesting to see. They made a lot of moves in the free agency when it came to defense. They signed Mackenzie Alexander, Trey Waynes, and Von Bell, along with DJ Reader. So they could have some help on the defensive side of things. But as everybody knows, with a rookie quarterback, it's still going to be tough if they don't have a strong offensive line. So made a lot of moves in the offseason for defensive help, but still have a pretty weak offensive line. So Burrows could take a pounding a little bit. I think he'll struggle a little bit. I see the Cincinnati Bengals finishing probably 5-11 this year. But then you wrap up with the Cleveland Browns, which I think is the enigma of the entire NFL. A lot of talent there, but yet at the same time, Baker Mayfield still hasn't found his groove with Odell Beckham out there. And then you've also got some additional help with Myles Garrett coming back from suspension this year, getting paid as one of the highest defensive players in the league. So if he can not hit anybody with a helmet this year, I think he might actually help out the Cleveland Browns a lot. Obviously, Jarvis Landry had some hip surgery in the offseason, so if he comes back strong from that, I think between Jarvis Landry and if you get Odell Beckham to really step up, who knows? They might be able to do a lot of stuff for the offense in Cleveland. They've also got Austin Hooper at the tight end spot. So it'll be interesting to see how they shore things up there. They're also trying to shore things up at the offensive line where they grabbed Jedrick Willis at offensive tackle. And then they also picked up a couple 2 first-round picks in their safety spots to try and help out their defensive secondary. I do think that Cleveland will bounce back this season. I see them finishing up 10-6. So that's it. I think from the AFC North, the only other thing I would say is all overrated players and underrated players in that division. I will say underrated is Steven Nelson from the Pittsburgh Steelers. That cornerback for them, he didn't give up a single touchdown last season. I think that you could see him with Fitzpatrick in the backfield in the secondary there, really being a shutdown secondary for Pittsburgh Steelers this year. And overrated, I'm still going with A.J. Green or Baker Mayfield because neither one of them have really proven their worth yet. Obviously, A.J. Green's had a lot of injuries, and I think he will bounce back, but it all depends whether or not he can stay injury-free. So that wraps things up there, Chris, in the AFC North, and turn it over back to you.
All right. Great breakdown. That's gonna me and Chuck, I'm sure we'll have a nice heated debate later on discussing that topic. So discussing that division. So but great breakdown. Now we're gonna move on to the AFC East with Eric. Eric, go ahead and break down the East for us. What you think?
All right, I appreciate it, guys. We'll start off with the Miami Dolphins, who I think are really going to make a challenge to the Patriots in the AFC East. Notable draft picks, of course, Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama, the QB, who's healthy right now, and if he can stay healthy, he can definitely elevate the offensive side for the Dolphins. Also, they picked up offensive tackle Austin Jackson to try to give him a little bit of protection back there. They picked up a guard, Robert Hunt, and then another defensive tackle out of Alabama, Raekwon Davis. So I really do think the Dolphins have a really good chance to compete with the Patriots. I'll go ahead and say the Dolphins will probably finish 10-6 in the division and be a little bit better than they were last year with the firepower. So I'm expecting a lot of things from the Dolphins. Some of the free agents that they picked up, they took my Cowboy cornerback, Byron Jones. That'll give them some veteran leadership in that secondary back there at cornerback. They also picked up running back Jordan Howard, who should give them a little bit more stability in the running back position. And then they also picked up Shaq Lawson, defensive end, and then Kyle Vinoy at linebacker. So I'm thinking that the Dolphins are definitely moving in the right direction. They're young, got a great quarterback coming in, and we'll just have to let them roll and see exactly what's going to happen. But I do expect them to be very competitive in the AFC East. So going on to the Bills. The Bills again are the Bills, man. I don't expect them to do that much better than they did this year. In the draft, they picked up A.J. Espinosa, a defensive end out of Iowa. They got a running back, Zach Moss, out of Utah. And then they also picked up another quarterback, Jake Fromm, from Georgia. Some of the notable free agents that they picked up, E.J. Gaines, cornerback, they got picked up. They also picked up Vernon Butler, defensive tackle. They also got Mario Addison, another defensive end, and then also Josh Norman at cornerback. So again, they sort of a little bit got a balance of both, a little bit offense and defense. But again, I just don't think they're going to be ready right now to really contend for that title in the AFC East. So I'll say that the Bills are going to finish, I'll say 7-9, and probably finish third in the division in the AFC East. Going over to the Patriots. So again, with Bill Belichick, man, he's always about 20 steps ahead of everybody else. Notable draft picks that they picked up, again, out of Alabama, Anthony Jennings, the edge rusher. They picked up another tight end, Devin, I hope I pronounced his last name right, Asasi out of UCLA. And then again, another edge rusher, Josh. And again, I might pronounce his last name wrong, but is it Uche? It's UCHE, so something like that. But he picked him up also as an edge rusher. So again, Bill Belichick always is the mastermind behind the plan, man. Some of the free agents that they picked up, of course, they picked up Cam Newton. They also picked up Brian Hoyer at quarterback. They also got a safety, Adrian Phillips at safety, and then they also got Devin McCourty at safety. So the Patriots have 21 titles, man, in that division, and I think that they're probably going to go ahead and win it again. Again, I think the Dolphins can give them a little pressure, but I just don't think they'll be ready to overtake them. I'm expecting Cam Newton to come in and do his thing, open the playbook for him. They'll design a lot of things around his skill set, and I think they'll be who they always are. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be ready to go. And I'm expecting them to win the division. I got them going 11-5 with the New England Patriots. So last is the Jets, and again, the Jets are the Jets. Again, I don't think they're going to be too much better than they were last year. Maybe a little bit better. In the draft, they picked up Denzel Mims, wide receiver out of Baylor. They got Ashton Davis, defensive back out of Cal, and then they got the first rounder. Mancave Beckham, offensive tackle out of Louisville. So they'll be a little bit better than they were last year, but I still picking them to finish last in the division. Some of the free agents that they picked up, Brashad Perriman, wide receiver. They got Greg Van Roten, guard. They also got Connor McGrew in the center, and then George Font, offensive tackle. So, again, a little bit of balance of both, a little offense and defense, but I just don't think they're in a position to really do anything. I'm picking them to finish last in the division, and I'll say they'll go 6-10 with the Jets. So that's pretty much my little breakdown of the AFC East. Again, I think the Patriots still going to reign king there right now until someone's ready to really overtake them. But right now, I think it's still going to be their year next year to bring that title back to Patriots again.
All right. Good breakdown. Okay. That's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough division with players opting out and things like that for the Patriots. They
got a lot of players that opted out too. In fact, they got the most in the league.
Right. So it was, but like you said at the beginning, Belichick always has something up his sleeve.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna give my opinion on that a little later as well.
Okay.
But first, we're gonna get to a breakdown of the AFC West. And, of course, that's going to be Chuck. This is his division with the Vegas Raiders out there. So we're going to hear his breakdown next. What you got for us, Chuck?
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I got the AFC West, and it's near and dear to my heart. And just jumping right into it, I think that carrying up the end, last place in the division, would be the LA Chargers. I think with the loss of Rivers and Gordon out of that backfield creates a lot of instability in that backfield. They've been able to do quite a bit just patching it together, but I didn't see them make any key acquisitions in the running back position. I think they're solid all over the place. They picked up Linval Joseph and at DT, and Brian Balaga, offensive tackle, and Chris Harris. So I believe their defense, they have a roster that outside of the running back position, I think running back and quarterback position, I believe they would be definitely playoff ready, but I believe that the quarterback position is going to hold them back. So I have them coming in last place in the division at 7-9. Moving right up, got the Denver Broncos. I really like the Denver Broncos. I think they can be sneaky good. Um, I say the acquisition of Jerry Jeudy to pair him alongside of Cortland Sutton is going to be big for them. And then they did acquire Melvin Gordon in the backfield. And I believe that defense is still it is the best defense in the AFC right now. And I think with Drew Lock, if Drew Lock is able to take a step forward, I'm going to have to readjust my projection for them, because I believe he really is the key to their success going forward. Of course, they have Von Miller. So yeah, I like them. I have them coming in third in the division. I have them at 9-7, and just ahead of them, I have my Oakland Raiders. I really like what we did in free agency in solidifying our defense. I believe that we got one of the most underrated players in the game in Max Crosby, who didn't make the top 100, but could have easily won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was close. He actually was close to Bosa in the finishing for that. I like the quarterback room has gotten a lot stronger with Marcus Mariota. I believe that the leash is not going to be too long in Oakland for Derek Carr. If he can't get off to a fast start, from what I'm hearing, Mariota, he was injured and he's actually feeling really good and looking really good and picking up the playbook really well. So I expect him to do well. I like my running backs. I like my wide receiver room, adding Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards out of South Carolina in the draft. I believe that's creating some elements. When you couple that with us having one of the most underrated tight ends in Darren Waller, who I believe is Pro Bowl caliber and about to be perennial Pro Bowl caliber tight end. I like what our team can do. I have us finishing 9-7 as well, same record as Denver, but through a tiebreaker, I believe that we can take them in a tiebreaker. And and at the top of the division, of course, we got Kansas City, the Chiefs. As much as I hate to say it, as long as that bad man at quarterback is back there, they're going to be in it every year for probably his entire career. So I'll never not pick. He's going to have to show me that he can't do it, because I do believe their roster is not the best in the AFC West, but he is the difference maker. And I believe that, what did they do? They got people opting out. They had the starting guard, Duvernay, starting center, I believe. No, he's a starting guard. He's opting out, as well as Damian Williams. I think that Damian Williams opting out because of his issues with his mom. But they drafted Clyde Hilaire, what's his name?
Out of LSU.
Out of LSU, the LSU running back. And I believe that guy, I think he's going to fit right in. And I expect him to be a beast in fantasy football this year. I think he's going to probably be underrated in fantasy football, but he should have a big year. The Chiefs, I think they'll be there at the end with health to Mahomes being the key factor there. As long as he's healthy, I think they'll be good. I have them finishing 12-4 in the division. So that is my breakdown for the AFC West.
All right. And see, guys, this is what I like. There's no favoritism, even though we have our favorite teams. The fact that we can all be realistic about everything, and who knows? It's the NFL. Things change from year to year. It doesn't take but one injury for someone to be out, and the Raiders may end up 12-4, or it's one of them things that can go that way. But showing that we can be realistic about things, I think that's what's going to set the show apart. So I appreciate you guys for that. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the AFC South. I'm going to start off with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm not going in any particular orders because Jacksonville Jaguars are not going to be a very good team, in my opinion. They did have a couple of nice pickups if they can stay healthy. They signed Tyler Eifert from Cincinnati at tight end, who has injury concerns, but when he's healthy, he's one of the top tight ends in the league. If they got someone, if Gardner Minshew can get him the ball, I think he can be effective. On defense, an underrated signing that they had was Joe Schobert, the linebacker from Cleveland, who's a sideline to sideline linebacker. He gets after it. He's one of the top tacklers in the league when he's healthy. Underrated signing. I like that. As far as their draft picks, they drafted Laviska Shenault, a wide receiver from Colorado, who's a speedster, who's going to stretch the field for them. They have a pretty good wide receiving tandem out there. I think that he'll add to that in the slot and definitely get them some speed out there. And then also an underrated draft pick also, I think he was a 4th-round draft pick, is Shaquille Quartermain from the University of Miami. He was a linebacker from there, and I watched the game where they played Florida at the beginning of last season, their opening game against Florida, and man, he was wreaking havoc for Miami. He's going to be a underrated draft pick who I think could be in the Rookie of the Year competition at the end of the year for Jacksonville. But I don't think Jacksonville, I have them going 5-11. I think Gardner Minshew has to show that he can be steady. He came out strong last year, but then kind of tailed off toward the end of the year. They got rid of Nick Foles, so he's the unquestioned starter right now. So we'll see what he can do. Next, I have the Indianapolis Colts, who I think will win that division, actually. Signing Phillip Rivers to give them a steady hand, although I don't think it's guaranteed that Phillip Rivers holds on to that spot. I think Jacoby Brissett is very underrated. I think he's a good quarterback. He kept it steady while he was in there. I think he could lead that team. I think Phillip Rivers will get the first shot, but the big thing with them is that they have weapons. They have an offense, probably the best offensive line in the NFL. They drafted Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin, running back that led the nation in rushing last year, 2,000-yard running back to add with Melvin Mack. That's going to be a hard backfield to stop out there. And then they also drafted Jacob Eason, the quarterback from Washington, who will more than likely be on the bench this year unless they have injuries. So he's going to be look for him in the next year or two, because I don't think Phillip Rivers plays past, this year, maybe next year if he's the starter. But I think Jacoby Brissett could hold that position down. I have them going 11-5. I think they'll win that division at 11-5. And also, let's see, we're going to go to the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans lost DeAndre Hopkins, which is a big loss. But at the same time, they got David Johnson, who 2-3 years ago was one of the top running backs in fantasy. Yeah, he won my league for me a few years ago. He's a big time player if he can stay healthy. So if he's healthy, David Johnson is a good all-around back. He's a good receiver out of the backfield, good between the tackles. They also signed Randall Cobb, who's not DeAndre Hopkins by no stretch of the imagination, but he's steady in the slot if he can stay healthy. He has some injury concerns. But with Will Fuller, a lot of their wide receivers have injury concerns, but when they're on the field, they produce. Will Fuller will probably take over that number one receiver spot out there, and he got the talent to do it. That it's just a matter of him staying healthy to do it. So I have the Houston Texans coming in at 9-7. I think Watson is one of the top quarterbacks in the league. We're just going to see how he adjusts to not having that security blanket and DeAndre Hopkins out there to get the ball to. As far as their draft picks, they drafted Jonathan Grenard, a defensive end out of Florida, who could be steady. Florida always produces good defensive players, good defensive ends. And I think he'll be another one of those players. He'll probably come in and produce for them on the defensive side. So I think Houston would be an average team. And then the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans are going to be tough. Didn't make any huge moves in free agency. They signed Vic Beasley from the Atlanta Falcons, who, as of right now hasn't reported, I don't think. As of today, I don't think he's reported to do any testing or anything. So not sure what's going on with that. But when he's on, he's on. He's not a big run stopper, but he gets after the quarterback. And Tennessee has a good, steady defense. Their defense is tough. So him just bringing that edge rusher brings a dimension to that team that they really didn't have. That great run stopper team, great, secondary. They get after you, but he brings another added dimension to that team. And as far as their draft picks, I love the pick of Darrington Evans from Appalachian State. He's a running back from Appalachian State that's going to replace Dion Lewis, who they lost in free agency. And I've watched him because, being that I went to Troy, I follow Troy. So, and Appalachian State is one of their rivals, and he's a beast. He's a small guy, but he's a stout guy. But he gets in between the tackles, breaks a lot of big runs. I think he led the NCAA in average yards per carry. He can break it. So he'll be a nice replacement for Dion Lewis. And they also drafted Isaiah Wilson in the first round, the offensive lineman from Georgia, who that was, for them to get him on the offensive line is big, because that's going to open up more holes for Derrick Henry, who I expect to be in the MVP conversation this year. I think, he was in it last year, but the way he ended the season in those playoff games against Baltimore and the Patriots, and he did his thing. I think he is a stud on the rise. And I think they'll be right there at the end. I have them going 10-6. I think teams are going to adjust to Ryan Tannehill this year. I think Tannehill came out of the blue last year, and nobody expected him to play that well as he did. I think teams will kind of have he has film. He has film now, and I think they'll finish 10-6. So that's my breakdown of the AFC South, and I really like Indy. I think Indy is going to go deep in the playoffs this year. They're going to be a sneaky team for those of you that don't know. I know my guys here know what Indy's done in the offseason. So I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. That when you got a good offensive line and if their defense can hold up, I think they're going to keep teams out there on the field for a long time and just bludgeon teams all year. So I think they're going to win that division this year. So that's my breakdown of the South. That was a good job. We're gonna go and get right into our next topic here. The first thing I kind of want to talk about, the NFL Network put out their top 100 that they do every year, voted on by the players. There were some notable people left off of that list, and there were some notable questionable people that were on the list that a lot of people think should not have been. So I just kind of want to get into that. And we're going to start off with Chuck this time, man. I want to know, what was your opinion of the list? Who do you think was overrated? This is going to be our overrated, underrated segment, by the way. So who do you think was the most overrated player on that list? And who do you think was the most underrated player?
Well, I am going to say on the list, overrated, I had to go with Aaron Jones at 33. I believe having him over Nick Chubb, Kamara, Josh Jacobs, Beckham, even though it's a different position, I believe that they underestimating that aspect of having Aaron Rodgers in the backfield and the threat that he brings, and how if you got a good running back, you can make some hay in Green Bay. But they're not gonna. They leaned on him, so he's a good back. But I think without Aaron Rodgers, he's not there. And in that same breath, I would say the most underrated is having Aaron Rodgers at 16. I'm sorry. I mean, if we starting franchises right now and I got to pick a quarterback, I may go Mahomes, but I'm not too many more names I'm gonna put ahead of Aaron Rodgers right now. I think that their coaching staff and general managers probably could have and should have done a lot more to put more pieces around him, because he should be a multi-Super Bowl champion by now with his talent. And I believe that talent is still there.
All right. And Eric, what did you think about the 100 list? Who's your overrated and underrated?
I think overrated, I'm going to go with Jadeveon Clowney, man. I just think he's a little bit overrated, man. I think he has the potential, but he's really, really injury prone, man. If he can stay healthy, I say, yeah, you see the flash and stuff, but it's always something going on with him. I'm definitely taking him as one of the overrated players. One of my underrated players, I think, is Nick Chubb. sort of what Chuck said, man. Nick Chubb puts in the work, man, and you really don't see it because he's on a team that is not necessarily in the limelight. But Nick Chubb is a stud. He's a workhorse, and he just hadn't got that shine that he deserves. In that particular team and playing that particular position for the Browns. But those would be my top two, man. So Jadeveon Clowney overrated, and then Nick Chubb for the underrated for the Browns.
All right. And that's a good list. And what you got, Mike? Who do you think were overrated and underrated on this list?
Yeah, I think that Von Miller was underrated, being number 26 on there for a defensive player after all he's done. I mean, he's always been an all-pro defensive player out there in the NFL, Super Bowl MVP previously. I think he was a little bit underrated. And overrated, I think Christian McCaffrey being up there at number 6 at running back. I don't know. I mean, he's a hell of a running back, but he hasn't necessarily produced for an entire season yet. And I think there's just some other running backs that have put up bigger numbers than him to put him at number 6. And I think the most notable one that I saw in there that wasn't even in the top 100, I know Eric's going to love this, but I don't know how Carson Wentz wasn't in the top 100. Despite all the injuries he's had, I don't know how the hell he isn't in the top 100 yet. Dak Prescott is.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Still love you, Eric. Just saying.
That's good. You actually took you took one of mine with that one. As far as Carson Wentz, I tell you that the fact that he wasn't even in the top 100 after being number 3 2 years ago, and the performance. And if you think about who he was throwing to last year at the end of the year, Greg Ward, college quarterback, was their top receiver the last few weeks of the season. He had no one to throw to, but he still threw for 4,000 yards and I want to say 27 touchdowns or something like that, and carried that team to the playoffs. The fact that he wasn't in the top 100 was strictly shocking. So you're going to have to make me switch it. Now I have to go to a bear as far as being underrated. Eddie Jackson not being in the top 100 was shocking to me. Eddie Jackson is one of the top safeties in the league. And I can say Roquan Smith as well, but I think Eddie Jackson is one of the top free safeties out there. He made the top 100 last year, and he fell out this year for whatever reason. I think he produces when healthy. But, for the sake that's only because you took my Carson Wentz pick that I went there. And as far as overrated, I have to go with Josh Allen, quarterback from Buffalo. The fact that he got in there in the 80s, I think he was 81 or somewhere up there. I just don't see the consistency of Josh Allen. I mean, he's great on his feet. He makes plays when he's great, kind of getting out of the pocket, making plays with his feet. But he doesn't show me the accuracy or the consistency to be over Carson Wentz for sure, as well as some other players that were on that list. What you got, Chuck?
Matt Ryan was also not on the list.
Matt Ryan not on that list.
He shouldn't be on the list. He doesn't need to be on the list.
No, he shouldn't be on that list.
Are you taking Matt Ryan or Josh Allen?
Ooh.
A Super Bowl.
Matt Ryan took his team now. He choked when he got there. But he got him there.
I'm gonna go Matt Ryan right now. I'm gonna go Matt Ryan right now.
When you say it like that, I mean, I would take Matt Ryan in that situation.
Yeah.
Allen has a bigger upside, I believe, long term than Matt. But I think Matt's ready. He's prime and ready for a Super Bowl right now. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
And it depends on if you put Julio Jones, where you put Julio Jones. Put Julio Jones with Josh Allen. I'd say Josh Allen over Ryan.
I'd take anybody with Julio Jones.
Right.
Julio Jones if I receive whoever I'd take Gardner Minshew over Josh Allen if I got Julio Jones out there.
Exactly.
Just throw it up to him. I mean, he's a beat when he's healthy. I actually covered him in high school. I briefly worked at a news station here. Did an internship, and I actually covered him in high school, and he was a man. He played at Foley High School, so on the Eastern Shore, if y'all see those high school teams, you got defensive backs that are 5'6" and 5'7", and here come this senior at 6'3", and 200 pounds in high school, and it was something to watch him in high school. So that was, he's a man child. He treats the NFL DBs the same way as he was treating those high school DBs back then. You got Julio Jones on your team. You just got somebody you can just throw it up there too. But yeah, it was a few shocking lists. And you look at that list; it's voted on by the players, and a lot of people think that the players don't actually do the vote, and they may vote for, put a few on the list and then give it to the equipment guy to finish it out who he thinks. So it's hard to say, but it's always entertaining to see the top 100 and see who's on there and who's left out. It's always very interesting. So appreciate you guys' feedback on that one. And now we're going to get right back into our next topic that I wanted to discuss. And it's the players opting out. The fact that the NFL allowed players up to, I think today was the deadline, either yesterday or today was the deadline for players to opt out. Being a Bears fan, I saw Eddie Goldman opted out. He's the starting defensive tackle for my Bears there, so that leaves a hole there. But the team that, of course, that Eric brought up earlier, the Patriots, lose up to 7 players, and some, Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung, Marquise Lee. These are players that they were expecting big things from. But I have a conspiracy theory, and this is Belichick. You guys tell me what you think. The players that are opting out gets that year back next year. So my thought is Belichick has these top players: Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung, Marquise Lee, other players that was rumors that the other wide receiver, Julian Edelman, may opt out. I'm thinking that Belichick wants these players for another year. Give them another year under hopefully normal circumstances next year, add it on to their contracts, so that he can just have that year to be that much better next year and the year after. Kind of right, not really write this year off, but it gives Cam Newton a chance to show that he's 100%. If he's 100% and has the targets that he has, then you say, okay, Cam Newton's that guy. Let's sign him to a 3-year deal. And then bring in Marquise Lee back, bring in Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung, and they won't lose that year on their contracts.
Wow.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? So it's not going to be a year against them. So they'll have that year pushed over to next year to load up and be right back at the top next year. What you guys think?
Now, if they opt out, do they still get paid for the year? That's what I wasn't sure on.
Well, they don't get their salary. I think there's an agreed upon amount that if they're a healthy opt out, then they get like $150,000 or something like that. But if it's if they're have health issues and they opt out, it's like $350,000 or something that. So they don't get what their actual salary would have been for that year, but they do get paid.
Yeah.
So and they have, I think Hightower just had a kid. I want to say just has a brand new baby, and they all have legitimate reasons to sit out.
Yeah.
But I think it's no coincidence that they have 7 players, and these aren't your third string guard. This isn't your backup safety. These are starting Pro Bowl caliber players for the most part.
I would say this. I would say that I don't think Belichick had anything to do with those guys making that decision to opt out. I think that Belichick is going to definitely benefit from it and utilize it, the strategy that you're talking about, to make sure he maximizes the Patriots' position with those players.
Right.
But I wouldn't, as a player, I wouldn't want to give up a year. I would want to get to my contract as fast as possible. So there's no way in the world I'm gonna opt out and give them that. You give them leverage to the team.
Right.
But
right.
I do know that the Patriots are going to make sure that they benefit from it in the maximum manner.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Mike, what you think about it?
Yeah, well, Chris, they've now got 8 players out, and they're all starters. I was just looking at it as far as their roster. You got 8 that have now opted out. So Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with your conspiracy theory from the Belichick days, but I can see exactly where you're going with that. So I think the biggest pieces that I see where it can hurt some teams is, you know, you got Funchess, who's now going to be out for the Green Bay Packers, and they didn't draft any help anyways to help Aaron Rodgers out. So I think it's going to only hurt them out losing him. And then, Chuck, you mentioned it earlier with Damian Williams. I think they do have enough deep backfield there. They should be okay without Damian Williams, but that is a cog in their wheel that they're going to be losing. And I think if the rookie can step up out of LSU as fast as I think he can, I agree with Chuck. I could see him being the rookie of the year in the NFL this year.
I agree. I was just gonna say I think Hilaire is a undercover rookie of the year candidate for sure. I think he's gonna put up some big numbers, especially with Damian Williams not there. But LaShawn McCoy is no longer there. You know, he played most of the season with them last year. He actually signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. So that's gonna be interesting. You know, if that was a 2018. With the players they picked up 2009, 2010, that would be an awesome team. LaShawn McCoy, Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and the players that they have there. But we'll see what they can do as well. That's going to be interesting. But yeah, I like Hilaire on that team. And the Packers statement that'll work out for us, Mike. Anything to bring them Packers down, I'm down for all day long.
It didn't hurt my feelings.
Right.
It's all good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys. So now we're gonna go into the part I like the best. We're gonna embrace debate now. We're gonna get into a couple of topics that I was given by people that wrote in that sent me emails and wanted to discuss. So the first thing we're gonna talk about is the New England Patriots, and this is gonna be Mike against Eric. So the Patriots, of course, signed Cam Newton to be their quarterback this year. And so with the loss of Tom Brady, does Cam Newton come in and keep the Patriots at the top of that division? We're going to start off with Eric. Eric, what do you think about that? Does Cam Newton lead the Patriots to the division title?
Absolutely. And it's because of just the system that the New England Patriots have put in place, man. I think that with Cam's skill set, I think they're going to go ahead and build that offense around him. Bill Belichick and his coaching staff, they've been doing this a long time, man. They take projects and they see stuff. They're always 20 steps ahead of everybody else. And then, too, you got to look at the division. There's really nobody in that division, that AFC East, that's really ready to challenge the Patriots to take that spot. I just really don't think it is. So I think Cam Newton's going to come in and do well. He pretty much missed all last year. If he's healthy and stays healthy, he can come in there, man, and just wreak havoc. And I think he's got a chip on his shoulder, too. I think he wants to come in and do good. He wants to prove all the doubters wrong, that he's washed up. He can't do this anymore. He can't do that. They'll sprinkle some more running stuff in him. The Patriots love to do that, dupe and dunk pass stuff. They'll do a lot of stuff with that, as usual. Wide receiver screens, jumping off to the running back, jumping off to the guy that's open. So he's going to come right in, man. And I think with that chip on his shoulder, and with the Patriots coaching staff, they're going to be ready to come in and still reign supreme in the AFC East. So I say yes. He comes in, he keeps that train going, and we'll see where it takes him. Absolutely.
All right. And Mike, what's your rebuttal to that?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I do agree with Eric from the Belichick system, and I do agree from he's got a chip on his shoulder coming in. The question is going to be, can he hold up for an entire season? And then second of all, you look at his contract, it's definitely heavily incentivized. It's a big contract. It's all incentivized. So he's definitely got the chip on his shoulder, and if he wants to make his money, he's going to have to earn it by putting up the numbers. But the question is, how long is he going to be dealing with Belichick? How long is Belichick going to deal with him? He keeps coming to press conferences dressed like Medea. God only knows how long Belichick's going to put up with him. I mean, I just don't know. It's just one of those things. So, I mean, he's proven himself over the years, but he's definitely fallen down. His completion percentage has gone down by an average of 8% a year for the last 3 years. And then obviously he's been on the sidelines for a lot of games. So I don't know. I do think Buffalo's going to win that division. But, it just depends. I think there's a lot of holes there for New England. As we just talked about, 8 players opting out already for COVID. They've got apparently, it sounds like, until Tuesday or Wednesday now to opt out. So if they lose any more players, that's going to be just a whole nother issue. And, but he's got a chip on his shoulder. It's put up or shut up time for Cam Newton. So we'll see the other thing, if you look at it, how many teams bypassed on him through this offseason? Nobody was signing him, and everybody kept saying, why isn't anybody signing Cam Newton? I mean, there had to be a reason teams weren't signing him, but Belichick made the move, and now it's put up or shut up time. So we'll see how Medea does. So.
All right, hey man, I love it. That's a good debate. That Chuck, you got anything you want to throw in that argument?
Well, no, I think that just, a healthy Cam, the reason that nobody picked him up is because he couldn't work out with anybody. So I believe if he's truly healthy, he's not going to be the reason that the Patriots lose. I believe with that coaching staff, they're going to find a way to put their players in the best position to be successful, and they are 100% consistent with that year over year in and year out. So that's why you can't bet against them. And so the only reason that they will not be successful is because Cam is just not healthy. He's not Cam. But if Cam is 85% of Cam, then they're not gonna have no problem in that division.
Okay, and I tell you, the Patriots, I have my opinion of that. I think Cam Newton will put up numbers, but I think these losses, I actually think the loss of Hightower, the loss of Patrick Chung is going to hurt them more than Cam. I think Cam Newton will put up numbers. I think Cam Newton, like you said, 85% Cam Newton is going to put up good offensive numbers. I just don't know if they'll be able to stop anybody. I think the Dolphins are going to be much improved, like Eric said. 10-6, I don't know, but I think Miami is going to be a dangerous team. You look at how Miami finished last year. Everybody thought they were going to try to tank for Tua or tank for Joe Burrow, and they put a hurting on some teams last year, and I think they did nothing but improve this year. So I think the Dolphins are going to be much improved. They're going to shock some teams. I think Buffalo will be Buffalo. Josh, there'll be a team that may be in the wild card hunt, but I just don't think Josh Allen is that guy to put them over the hump. And as far as the Jets are concerned, the Jets may surprise some team. I don't think they're going to be that great, but if Le'Veon Bell can get back to being, he got a year, he was off for a whole year, came back last year and put up okay numbers, but if they get good offensive line play, and now they'll have their quarterback for the whole season, hopefully. He missed the first half of the year with mono, and when he came back in, he balled out. If they get some good receiver play, I think they could be consistent. They can make some. So I think I'm going to have to go with the field on that one. I just think it's going to be hard for New England to and I hate to disagree with you, Eric, but I just think it's going to be hard for them to win that division with all the losses. Just with the losses, those are some important players that they've lost. So on that particular one, I'm gonna have to give the mic on that particular argument. Just for that, right. I love you, cuz. But
with Eric on this.
I just had to put my. But now the next one is brother versus brother, little in-house battle. Now the next question that I got was about the Cleveland Browns, and now everybody expected a lot out of the Cleveland Browns last year. They were expected for Baker Mayfield to make this big jump. They had some big signings, Odell Beckham Jr., and they were expected to do big things, and it didn't work out for them last year. So now with a whole year under their belt, Chuck, will the Cleveland Browns have a chance to win the AFC North this year?
No, not at all. Not even close. I think when I look at the Cleveland Browns, let's put it like this. Their issue has been culture. I believe on paper, let's say if we gave Bill Belichick to the Cleveland Browns, put that roster and gave it to the Patriots, I would have them winning the Super Bowl this year, right? They have a Super Bowl roster across the board. Love that team, but that culture, we picked them high last year, and what did they do? They failed them, and until Baker Mayfield can prove to me that he's mature enough to be a leader in the locker room, to have a player with the personality of Odell Beckham and truly take that team by the horns, until he can prove that he can do that, they're going to be the Browns. They're coming in third in that division. I don't have them. They're definitely not going to be better than Baltimore And with Ben Roethlisberger, they went they go 8-8 or 9-7 last year. They almost playoff team without Roethlisberger last year. With him in their defense in Pittsburgh is not going to fall below third place. They may not be able to catch Baltimore, but I don't see Cleveland catching them unless Baker Mayfield grows up.
Right. And I tell you, I think he will. I think Baker Mayfield takes, I think Baker Mayfield took a big slice of humble pie last year. I think everybody put all this on his shoulders. He was expected to be the man. He was expected, I got Odell Beckham. I have Jarvis Landry. I have David Njoku. I'm going to put up 4,000 or 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, and I'm going to be the MVP. And he didn't. I think he just took a big slice of humble pie. I think he calms down. I think he puts up some big numbers this year. They added Hooper at tight end, and Njoku kind of wants out. But if they can keep him happy and have Hooper and Njoku at tight end, you have Landry and Odell Beckham at receiver. You have Kareem Hunt. If Kareem Hunt can get back to what he was before his suspension, as well as Nick Chubb in the backfield, they got some weapons. If they improve on defense, if Myles Garrett can come back, and he was briefly the highest paid defensive player until Bosa just signed a big contract, bigger than Garrett's. But if you got Garrett on one side that can wreak havoc on defense, they have a okay defense. Secondary, they might need to work on it. But I think the Cleveland Browns are going to shock the AFC North this year. If they don't win, I think they'll be right there in the playoff hunt. I think they will challenge the Baltimore Ravens in that division. They played Baltimore tough last year. They wasn't an easy win for Baltimore last year. I think Cleveland Browns is going to make a run, and that's going to be my shock pick. I think Cleveland Brown does challenge for that division. I'm not going to say they win it, but I think they challenge for it. I don't think they finished third. I think they finished right there.
That's second. So you saying second? Okay.
Second, maybe first. I tell you, I love Lamar Jackson. That was going to be no way he should have been number one over Patrick Mahomes. By the way, in the top 100, he was the MVP last year. But Patrick Mahomes, come on, Lamar Jackson should have been number 2. Russell Wilson should have been number 3. I think I think it was Mahomes, Jackson, Russell Wilson. I'm just saying, Mahomes, man, that it's like the Jordan effect. It's like, Jordan was in the NBA and won 4 MVPs, but he should have won it the year Karl Malone won it. He should have won it the year Charles Barkley won it. And you got to kind of throw some bones out there every now and then. But that's a whole nother topic. But the Cleveland Browns, I think, are going to shock the world. I think they're going to be a good team. I liked them last year. They didn't live up to the hype. I think he takes that humble pie and he comes in with a chip on his shoulder and leads the Cleveland Browns to be right there in the playoff hunt. All right, what you got, Eric? What you think about that? What's your opinion on that?
I think I'm gonna side with Chuck, man.
leave it to you.
The Browns are cursed
up together. It's all right.
Yeah, look. The Browns are cursed, man. Like you say, it's coaching. They've got a hell of a roster, man. They got players, man.
New coach this year.
Well, it's gonna take more than that, man. I just don't see it, man. I just don't. It's just so much. Every year is something. Change. They need something. If they're gonna make the change, then let's make the change, and then let's try to grow with the changes that you made. So again, they starting over again, new coach and same players. So we'll see how. I'm with Chuck. I just don't think it's gonna happen.
All right, Mike, what you got? Come on, Mike. What you got for me?
Well, I got to lean with you, Chris, because as you heard me say earlier, I was leaning with Cleveland to finish second in the division. I think we got Stefanski is the new head coach. We'll see exactly if that's a change of environment for all of them. But at the same time, with COVID and everything, they haven't had a lot of team time together to gel as an organization. But, maybe Baker will play better without fans there. Maybe he'll feel as much pressure. He'll play better. I mean, they got a hell of a backfield. I mean, you're right. I mean, if they go ahead and have that running back, two-headed monster stay healthy, I mean, they could take a lot of pressure off of him. And, you know, if they got the 2 tight ends, if they both stay there, that could definitely alleviate some pressure. I mean, the only reason I put them ahead of Pittsburgh is just because of the fact that I just don't think Ben's going to stay healthy for a whole year. I think they got a hell of a defense in Pittsburgh, but I just don't think Ben's going to survive the whole year. And they still did nothing in Pittsburgh to fill in the backup position at quarterback. So,
right. Okay. All right.
I'll lean towards Chris.
I knew I had Mike on it. Man, Mike's a smart fellow, man. Mike is a smart fellow. Mike knows football, man. And so that way I win again. All right. So
listen, continuity is highly underrated.
no, you're right.
New head coach, that means you got to hit the ground running. Maybe next year, maybe he can, like Eric said, he can change that culture this year, and then next year they'll be living that culture. I don't think you can expect him to change the culture, be successful this year, and then beat them boys that's been teams that's ready for the Super Bowl. Pittsburgh's going to compete like they think they're going to win the Super Bowl. They got the defense to do it, and Ben Roethlisberger is capable.
Yeah. You're right. Hey, man, you're right. You know what I'm saying? But you have to look at this is also a contract year for Baker. Baker's playing for money. Baker has something on his show. He got something to prove. He's going to be out there, you know, he's going to be slinging them and dangling them down there, man. He's got something to prove, and he has the weapons. If he got time, man, just watch out for the Browns. Watch out for the Browns.
Hey, Chris and Chuck, by the time Thanksgiving dinner gets here and you guys are sitting there, brotherly love, you can see exactly. It'll be 10 games in. See who's doing better. Cleveland.
Oh yeah. We're gonna have to do a remote. We're gonna do a remote show then. We're gonna definitely do a show.
Chris can tell me how right I was. Perfect.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Hey, fellas, man, this has been fun, man. I know we got to get back to our families, man. We got stuff going on this weekend, but man, this was another good episode, man. Y'all look forward to viewing this again. I want to thank Reverend Henry Roberts for allowing us to be on this platform and just talk football and just have fun during this time. I know it's hard, but you know, just to have a little release. I know I'm happy the NBA is back. Watching some good basketball. So we're going to have to get together and do a show about basketball. Y'all get up on your basketball game. We'll talk about that on an episode in the future as well, man. But I appreciate you guys. We're going to go ahead and get ready to sign on off. Mike, go ahead and say bye to the people.
Everybody stay safe out there, and looking forward to the season starting up here in hopefully 4 weeks. And hopefully NFL can pull this off, unlike I don't think Major League Baseball will be. So everybody stay healthy.
Exactly. All right, Eric.
Yeah, again, I appreciate everybody, the time. Everybody stay healthy. And for Mike, watch out for Dak Prescott, man. He's better than Carson Wentz any day.
All right, Chuck, what you got?
Everybody, y'all please stay safe. Wash your hands. Do the right things. We're gonna make it through this thing because we got to get to football. I don't know about this football. So do whatever you can do to help us get to football.
Yes, sir. Hey, man, we're gonna bear down. We're gonna bear down, man. We're gonna take this NFC North. All right. Hey, man. Guys, we appreciate you watching. We'll be back again soon with another episode. So y'all tune in, man. Thank you. We signing on off. And again, y'all crave the cave in the Man Cave with Chris. Signing off. All right. This was, as always, a great time hanging out with you in the Man Cave with Chris, where it's all sports at all times. So, guys, hit me up at themancavechris@gmail.com with your opinions, any questions, or if you'd just like to be a guest on the show. And as always, crave the cave. Peace.